Everyone should see that little button right now. Should be good to go. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. This is our online career webinar hosted by the University of Arizona Alumni Career Lab. And I am Lacey Niemeyer-John. I am the Director of Alumni Career and Professional Development. And I am so excited for today's webinar because I think this has been a topic that's really hot in our kind of workforce right now. And I think we have an amazing resident expert here on campus to give us some tips. So we're going to be talking about establishing your own entrepreneurial journey with Brian Ellerman. And I will introduce him in just a second. But many of you probably have joined us before. If you haven't, just as a reminder, this is our webinar. It's free as part of our Alumni Career Webinar series from the Alumni Career Lab, where we look to bring experts to speak on a variety of industry and professional topics. And today's presentation is being recorded, so it'll be archived on our Arizona Alumni website, so you can access on demand and share it with your friends and family. That link is arizonaalumni.com/careers, and we'll send it out after the event as well. If you have questions during today's presentation, that'll be great. Go ahead and utilize the chat feature because we do have a pretty good sized group on the event today. So utilize the chat feature. We'll get to as many as we can at the end of the presentation. And then if we don't get to any at the end, we can keep those and Brian and I can try to answer them in email answers if needed. So that's perfectly fine. All right, it's time to introduce our speaker. So Brian Ellerman is an expert and he's just fantastic, and really appreciate you, Brian, being here today with us. So let me give a little bit of background behind Brian and what he's coming to this presentation with. He has over 25 years of industry experience, and he's come to the University of Arizona having spent the last 15 at Sanofi, which is a global 500 biopharmaceutical company, where he has held numerous roles, including site head, overseeing technical construction and aspects of research and design facility, to digital health partnering and also corporate strategy. In 2013, Brian created a technology scouting and partnering group with R&D and traveled throughout the world, connecting top incubators, accelerators, startups, and venture firms to critical business problems. Building on that success, in 2016, Brian was part of a corporate digital health strategy team, leading a successful global program to optimize $4 billion with a B in clinical research operations through decentralized trials, telemedicine, and other digitally enhanced aspects of trial participant recruitment, enrollment, and retention. He joined the University of Arizona in July of 2018 with the plan to renovate the Roy Place building downtown, and also founded Forge. And I'm sure he's going to talk about that later, so I won't dive into what Forge is and the purpose of it, but that started in 2019. So Brian has been very busy, and we are grateful for his time today and sharing his thoughts and background on how we can all enjoy the entrepreneurial journey and maybe startups of our own. So Brian, I'll turn the time over to you and stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Lacey. It always makes me, whenever I get introduced, it's like, oh my goodness, I am old. So let me bring up my slides and throw this into presentation mode. So you all see that in presentation and you're not like looking at speaker notes and whatever. Every now and then I do that wrong. Okay. And I'm going to move you all up to the corner of my screen so that I can see what I'm telling you about. I should throw in one other plug. We can come back to it too a little bit later, but I'm also part of the Wildcat Mentoring Society, and I certainly encourage all of you to think about joining and being a part of that as well.
Oh, thank you, Brian. Yes, I will drop that in the chat. Well done.
Thank you. So here's what I'm going to talk about. Who's this guy? Why is he talking to us? What is innovation and entrepreneurship? You may think that that is a remedial or basic topic, but it's remarkable how often people use the terms either interchangeably or confuse them or what have you. So I really want to make sure we just kind of lay it bare what that means and how that then ties into that entrepreneurial journey. Often I get asked, okay, but I'm X. In your case, you're an alum. So what is there for me? And surprisingly, quite a bit. And then finally, I call it FAQ&A. What are the frequently asked questions? And let's answer them and any other questions you have. So Lacey already gave you a bit of background on me. If you want to, learn more or see more, there's the link to my bio on the Forge website that goes into deeper detail on some of the things that I've done over the years, particularly around investing, being involved in very early stage companies, from 2-person startup to sometimes exit, IPO, and so on. That only means that I got lucky a couple times, and I certainly had more than my share of watching, lighting the bills on fire and watching them burn. That is part of the nature of investing in startups, but such is life. I also want to note that I really tried to retire from Sanofi in 2017, and I was terrible at it. Basically, by June, July of 2018, my wife said, "Would you please go find something to do because you're driving me crazy?" So I went and talked with Joaquin Ruiz at Biosphere 2. We worked on some things, and then fortunately along came Betsy Cantwell, the Senior Vice President for Research and Innovation, and I joined Betsy's team to start this new unit called Forge, which we'll talk a little bit about. I also want to do a quick highlight, and Wildcat, I have 2 degrees from the University of Arizona. In 2000, I completed my Master of Science in MIS from Eller. And then just last year, I completed a Master of Legal Studies in Intellectual Property and a Health Law certificate from Rogers. So I bleed red and blue in all ways one can. And I really do believe in the mission of the university, especially how we reach out to communities well beyond the borders of Tucson, which is quite important to me. So why am I talking to you? Well, let me give you a context. I give this talk about sort of the entrepreneurial mindset to all kinds of different groups. One of my more recent talks was to the student athletes over in McHale Center. And so I thought I'd kind of contextualize it, live up my playing days as an athlete when I got that 8th grade athlete of the year at Titusville Middle School. And then, well, okay, I didn't get a goalkeeping award. It was actually for best mullet in high school that I got the award. And then I got to college and it was, well, I'm the shortest goalkeeper and most promising beer gut. So clearly, as Coach Fish would say, I didn't make the cut for being good as a player that anybody would pay me. I needed to find a different path forward. So, okay, seriously, why am I talking to you? So Forge is finding opportunities and resources to grow entrepreneurs. And I think what's really important is the word entrepreneur. You'll notice we don't talk about startup. Startups can happen, but it's really about the individual and the individual's journey, the mindset, how well do we do at preparing them? And I'll touch on that in a little bit. And by the way, I don't want this to be a completely one-sided conversation. So I will make a point of trying to finish with plenty of time for any questions and conversation to tell me about your own journey and the challenges that you faced, because that's really why we exist, is to support everyone through that path. ForgeHead, we have three pieces. The first we call Student Venture Pathways. It's inspiring cultivating that entrepreneurial mindset in students. And we don't limit ourselves to U of A. We work with community colleges. We work with high school students. We really want to try to start to build that entrepreneurial mindset as early as possible. And I will explain in a little bit what I mean when I say entrepreneurial mindset. Then we also look at it as if we're really good at what we do, and we're just turning out thousands of entrepreneurially minded students, and they graduate into a community that's still operating in the dark ages and thinking in antiquated ways, well, we're more or less guaranteeing they're going to go somewhere else. So we need to be doing the same thing for the entrepreneurial ecosystem that we do for the students. And so we have Forge communities. One way we do that is that building that you see there, that's called Forge at Roy Place. That was the building that Lacey mentioned. I spent a good part of a year and a half planning and renovating. We were set for a grand opening on March 26, 2020. So we really nailed the timing there. Fortunately, we've been able to adapt our programs in the community and the ways that we support. And now, and I'll tell you about this a little bit later, we're starting to open back up and do a number of community-based activities that you all are invited to attend. The last piece I call Forge Ahead. This is when you're a startup, a founder, you often get to this kind of valley of death where you've done all the things that everybody told you to do, and yet you just can't seem to figure out how to get, I don't know, venture funding or get that key person on your board or as an advisor, whatever that obstacle is to sort of scaling and launching. And so Forge Ahead exists for me to work one-on-one with the CEO founders. And then I have a team of mentors and residents who also help me with that. And we try to help the company, the founder, get over that hump and achieve that scale and launch. The best part of it is we have a pay it forward principle. So everybody that we serve in that, we don't charge them a penny. Instead, we require that they give back through talking to students about their journey toward working with the ecosystem. Essentially, we all make each other stronger, is our thinking. Which is why our guiding principles are around diversity, resilience, and purpose. We really want to look at how do we create the most diverse ecosystem we can with the most diverse set of entrepreneurs. That in turn creates a form of resilience, that ability to sort of take a hit. I think everybody came through the pandemic with some understanding of the term resilience. And then purpose. We don't want to just innovate for the sake of innovating. We want to do it because there's actually something being solved that's bettering society, bettering entrepreneurs, and so on. I'll touch on that in about 2 slides. So my big red box is always entrepreneurial mindset, shifting away from novelty toward intention. That's the purpose, focusing on business ideas that solve real problems, create more jobs, and hopefully scale inside of the private and public sectors. All right, so quick primer. What is innovation and entrepreneurship? I would imagine that for most of you, if I ask the question, how many of you consider yourselves creative? Probably almost everybody raises their hands, because sure, at any given moment, I'm creative. I can come up with things. Are you innovative? Yeah, I suppose, right? There are times when you're faced with something you can be innovative. Are you entrepreneurial? Almost every time most people say, yeah, I don't think I'm entrepreneurial. And I'm here to challenge that. I think you are. So let's start with the really classic, everybody talks about the creative process, we prepare for it and then we incubate it and then eureka, an idea comes along and problem solved, and then on we go. And I'm here to say, no, that piece doesn't exist. Yes, we would like to say that there is some component that comes forward out of incubation. But what's really key is that this is iterative. It comes back around again through that evaluation. That worked, that didn't work. What do we need to do next time around? Okay, we elaborate that and back we go to the beginning to prepare again. Innovation is really then taking that creativity and applying it to problems or opportunities. Try to enrich people's lives, do new things. I mean, there can be any number of reasons why people innovate. I use E-splat or E asterisk because it can be entrepreneurship, my favorite, entrepreneurialism, right? It just means applying that creativity and that innovation to the needs and opportunities in the marketplace. In other words, entrepreneurs connect their creative ideas with the purposeful action and structure of a business. It's really the key piece. And I don't know if you've ever had a job, you've probably been entrepreneurial. Maybe you didn't think that you were, but the fact that you had to take your creativity and innovation and apply it to solve a problem inside of a business setting, guess what? You were entrepreneurial. Here's the key, and this is something that I know questions come up a lot about this, and we'll revisit this. There are lots of ideas, and I can't tell you how many times I meet with want to be entrepreneurs who say, I've got this idea, it's brilliant, it's worth $1 billion. Okay. The problem is that to get from that idea to something that you can actually sell as a solution means you need to go through these different gates of validation and ensuring that there's really a market for it. That is someone willing to pay for this? The most brilliant idea that no one else wants to use isn't really a solution. It might be a solution to your problem, but that doesn't make it a sellable solution. So there is absolutely this attrition that takes place from lots and lots of ideas to maybe one or two sellable solutions. We use something called the lean canvas, and this is really the foundation on everything that we do. And it really centers around this idea that I need to identify what is my problem, and top 3 at the most. What is my solution? Again, top 3 at the most. What is my value proposition? So what is it that I'm going to do that's different from what someone else could do or what the existing solution is? And then we start to fill in some of these others like unfair advantage, customer segments. Is there one group of individuals that might be a better target than another? But really the first 3 boxes are the ones we want to start with on any endeavor: problem, solution, and value proposition. Okay, so how's that useful? Well, hey, Lacey, this from the NCAA, they say only 2% of college athletes go on to professional sports. Did you go on to professional sports?
Yes, I would say that my being an Olympic sport athlete was a little bit different than other people's interpretation of what professional is. But I just look at, Dory from Finding Nemo. I just kept swimming and
Or
kept
swimming
swimming until I couldn't.
So you actually parlayed your college career and your Olympic career into a professional sports career that paid you real money to do that. So let's see, if there are 13 people on this and 2%, I'm sorry, everybody, you have now met the only professional athlete you're going to meet, at least for today and probably for the week. The point is that most of us don't have that, athletic ability and a path to a professional career. That's also true from a startup perspective. If we were to only focus on student startups, we would only serve 3% of all the students at the university. Now, that's not a very good use of anybody's time or money. When 97% go on and get a job, go into graduate school, go do something else, not launching a startup. So why does this matter? Because when you ask CEOs what they wish they could get when they hire someone, they're looking for critical thinking, they're looking for analytical skills, and they're looking for problem solving abilities. And I hope all of you, I don't know, I'm sure there's a mix of majors here. You understand this has nothing to do with your degree. Now, we could have a separate conversation about whether or not, well, that maybe we need to fix that and degrees need to include these things. And obviously that's exactly what Forge is trying to do, is to make it so that every student that comes through the University of Arizona graduates and tells people, yeah, I had that Forge experience, and people understand that means building these skills and making them that much more employable. But that's changing a very large landscape. And so We're trying to work programmatically to meet people where they are, to give them the opportunities to develop these skills and hopefully make them more attractive to the hiring managers of the world. That's what we talk about when we say getting people to solve real problems, more job opportunities. We're thinking about, what do you do when you get done with your college degree? What do you go and do? And we want to be really sensitive to the fact that different degrees have different paths and different opportunities. We meet them all. One quick aside, we talk about entrepreneurial mindset. This is kind of our foundation on that, which is, critical thinking. It's that flexibility and adaptability. Remember, resilience, communication, collaboration, comfort with risk. I'll talk a little bit about one of our Venturing 101 mini courses. This is one of the central themes that we get at in that. What is your risk profile? Because it's really important to understand that if you are a risk taker, okay, here's a great set of options for you. And if you're not, well, then maybe here's a better path that you may be more comfortable on. Self-reliance, future orientation, opportunity recognition, and then lastly, creativity and innovation. There are those two words again. So what are my take-home messages? First off, innovation begins with a validated need and creative solution. As Chris Sacca says, ideas are cheap, execution is everything. An entrepreneurial mindset is linked to a solution. Sustainable business model means that it's something that I can go out and solve, and I'm not done, and there's no more problem to solve. It's the kind of thing that continues. Really good startups, they flex where they're strong and they stay away from weak spots. And I could give you all kinds of examples of companies that had to do multiple pivots because they quickly realized that they were treading on very thin ice where they really didn't have the expertise. Business opportunities require patience, expertise, and blind spot awareness. That last one, I don't know how many different ways I can say it. This is why getting into a mentoring group, being an advisor, being advised is so critical, because those are your blind spotters. Those are the people that help you figure out what you're really good at and where you're not, and make sure you don't suddenly find yourself in a situation where you need the thing you're not good at. And so I think it's really key to have that blind spot awareness. And best of all, there are a lot of great resources here at the University of Arizona. And so you're probably saying to yourself, yeah, but I'm an alum, I'm not a student. Those all sound like that's great for the students. What do I do? Aha. Well, first off, shameless plug alert. First off, if you're not on the Bear Down Network, why are you not on the Bear Down Network? I mean, it's badge city there right now. You can go and earn your badge and become a super Wildcat, super collaborator. There are all kinds of reasons to be on the Bear Down Network and connect with other fellow alums, and whether it's to find a job, post a job, tell people about something that you're doing in your community or in this community or wherever. Then you can also join what's called the Wildcat Investor Network. Everybody always latches on the word investor. So on the right, you see, I say time and talent, the treasure comes later. You can invest your time, you can invest your talent. And the goal here is that we get a community of alums, much like yourselves, who are interested in giving back. Not necessarily financially, but with their time, with their talent. You want to hear from students. What are they working on? What are they struggling with? And this becomes a forum for those students to come in and offer the question about, I've got this idea. Anybody know anything about it? And we work our network and we try to bridge those gaps. So link across the bottom. And if one of the questions in the chat happens to be, will the slides be shared later? Yes, I will be sure to send the PDF on to Lacey to get out to all of you, which all of the links will work in that. Another absolutely free resource that's available to you is 2 years ago, we produced a white paper on early stage funding. And we worked with that whole set of partners. So Community Investment Corporation, WeFunder, Startup Tucson. You might have your own business and be thinking, where do I go to get more money? Or I need help with my business. Read the white paper. We go from all the way from the absolute free options, free services that are out there, to I want to go raise capital in front of VCs and angels. We cover the entire gamut. in this document. And all of the people that are listed, we have the contact info in the white paper for you to be able to follow up and ask them more questions. So that's 2 free resources right there. Now let me tell you about some of the other free resources that we run within Forge. One we call Venturing 101. It's part of the Student Venture Pathways program. Venturing 101 is this set of lightweight mini courses. They take, I don't know, let's say 5-6 hours at the most to complete. And we have a whole set of them that we run people through in order to build those skills. And I'll show you what those are on the next couple slides, but self-paced, do them online. And yeah, it's community. So you don't have to be an enrolled student to register for these. You can enroll and take these as well. The registration process, super easy. You can go to our forge.arizona.edu, or you can follow that link when you get the document and register for and sign up for the courses. And course 1, getting started with a venture. This is really about examining you as an entrepreneur. What is your mindset? What is your risk profile? How far out on that limb are you comfortable going? That's really what our course 1 is about. Then course 2, hey, what did we just talk about? Ideation, problem solutions. What's lean canvas? What's design thinking? And then how do we take people through, how do you go through that process to fill out parts of that lean canvas to know whether you've actually got something? Then, okay, I think I have a problem and a solution. I need to go find a customer, because without it, you're someone with a great idea. And so again, back to lean canvas. How do we meet our customers? How do we go out and discover them? Because sometimes it's surprising. You think the solution is for person X, and it turns out person Y is a much better fit. I can't tell you how many times I've encountered entrepreneurs who just insisted, no, this is for, this group. And meanwhile, there's this other group out there that are just begging for a solution. And, eventually you bring them around to it, but it sometimes takes a while. And then we also work with a nonprofit called VentureWell. They have a whole series of additional materials and curriculum. And so we work with them on this value proposition piece. Inevitably, you will fail. I mean, we all do, right? We all hit some point where things don't go the way we want. And so what does it mean to an entrepreneur, and what does it mean to the entrepreneurial mindset? And now we come back, we revisit that self-assessment and ask, okay, you said you were really open to taking risk, but are you, when handed an actual failure, in fact, are you risk taking, or are you maybe more risk averse than you thought, or vice versa? And we do a little resiliency test. And then the last piece, because this comes up all the time from people. So should I patent my idea? I've got this great name for my company. I want to, get a trademark on it or whatever. I always usually start by saying, maybe you should just work on the idea first and make sure that you've got an actual customer before you worry about all of these other things. And then if you do, how do you form the business? Do you go with an LLC? Do you incorporate S Corp, C Corp, Delaware, Arizona, et cetera? We try to kind of touch on all of these within the last course. And then we have a number of courses that we're developing that, again, will be available to all of you, whether that's financial literacy or building a team or specialized. So with my biomedical background, I'm really interested in biomedical entrepreneurs, because they have a unique set of challenges beyond just getting a company. They have to also think about a regulatory pathway, and they have to think about the ethics. If the solution they've come up with directly impacts somebody's life, you need to be considerate of that and thinking maybe even about some of the unintended consequences that come with that. One of the other pieces of Forge are our communities. And so I'm just offering these as some recent examples that, these happened in March. So it's too late for you to attend these, but if you sign up for our newsletter, you'll hear about the future ones. We do a Forge fireside every month, typically with an entrepreneur, investor, somebody who has a lot of experience to talk about getting a company off the ground and all of the challenges that come with it. So in March, I talked with Ben Weber. He came out of the MIT Media Lab in Cambridge. and started a really fascinating company that's now called Humanize. We do every Thursday, at least through the rest of May, we do let's drink coffee and talk about, and then there's some topic. And we've done independent films, we've done giant statues. We really, the topic is not entirely the point, other than we invite some guests who are actually experts in that to come and mingle in the crowd and meet with people. Frankly, it's an excuse to get together downtown on Thursdays and have a cup of coffee with people. And then the best part is you can stick around afterward for Thursdays at Forge. We open our doors. Normally our doors are locked because we're really working with a set of members and community. But on Thursdays, we unlock the doors, and you're welcome to stay on and work from there. Our goal, of course, is that we really want it to be more of a water cooler. So we don't want people to come in just to go lock themselves in a room. We want them to come in to meet with other people, learn what's going on, offer their expertise and thoughts, and so on. And then, hey, you got to have a little fun. So we did a St. Patrick's Day mixer over at Borderlands in partnership with Startup Tucson and New Pueblo. We did an Oscar night, which, boy, we hadn't quite anticipated that in our planning. The slap definitely changed the entire evening's event, but nonetheless, we try to do different both daytime, evening, weekend events to just stimulate more community and get people together. Whew, that was a lot. So let me touch on kind of two very frequently asked questions, and then I will drop out of the full screen and answer any other questions. First off, how do I know if an idea is good for a startup? Well, let me go back to this. You know, a good idea for a startup is one that has both been through a process of some level of small projects and development, and then fits out the lean canvas. You know, so a good idea for a startup is any idea that you can definitively fill in what the problem is, what the solution is, and that there's a value proposition. And of course, that there's some customer for it. The other question, what are mistakes first-time entrepreneurs routinely make? Well, this is a little flippant, but it's not do any of those things would probably be the thing that most first-time entrepreneurs. I think often a first-time entrepreneur gets so enamored with either the technology or the solution that they have that they forget to sort of take a pulse on what is the state of art, what is the state of the arena, what other, say, competitors are out there that already have been doing this. There's a kind of a saying in the investing world that if you ask somebody, you know, who are your competitors, and they say no one, well, then that's not an investment opportunity because there is no market. You know, if there is a market, there will be competitors. So what are they doing, and what are they doing well? You know, first-time entrepreneurs need to spend some time to understand what other options are already out there for people, because ultimately your job is to convince your customer your way is the right way. Your way is the way that they should go. I'll let it go to the questions. I will just end here with, you know, register for our newsletter. You can learn more about what we have going on. You can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at UAZForge. You can email our info page. You can go to our website to get a lot of this other information. We're here to serve really the community, the ecosystem. You don't stop being a wildcat when you graduate. It's really just the beginning of the journey as far as we're concerned. And so we want to help you in that journey. Whether that's to go be the best employee, go be the best small business owner, what have you, we're here for you. So with that, I will stop sharing.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Brian. That was fantastic, and so many great resources for our alums, not only in Tucson, but also around the globe. We'll be sure to send out those slides so that you can follow up with the links and find which one will be best for you. We do have a question that has come in to the chat, and I have a couple that were direct messaged sent to me. Let's look at what Lori said, and she says, any insights or considerations when looking at international nonprofit endeavors? And Brian, I'll let you kind of take that one and share your thoughts.
Yeah, that's an interesting kind of segment to think about. I mean, obviously, I think first off, if it is truly a nonprofit endeavor, it's international only because it exists in multiple countries. You know, in other words, it's a global problem. Otherwise, you know, that's you're probably best off being in that country where that's highly localized. Trying to do it from here, I find often is treated with a bit of resentment from the people that live in the other place, you know, that you're trying to solve their problem for them because they couldn't do it themselves. So I think, you know, in thinking about international nonprofit endeavors, most of the nonprofit founders that I work with, we try to find them a good set of, for example, foundations and family offices and other groups that are particularly passionate about that area, and work through them, both to identify what is the available funding and where is maybe the problem most acute that you could try to bring your entrepreneurial idea to bear. Otherwise, I think the challenge of trying to do something from little old Tucson, Arizona, in, you know, a market halfway around the world is obviously quite challenging. So you need the power and leverage of those foundations and those groups. And then lastly, I think you can also look at you know, or universities like Arizona. We work internationally. We have a global reach. If it is a particular area in which the university does research, odds are we can probably find you, you know, someone who is an expert in that region of the world, who then themselves will be very well plugged into the ecosystem and be able to make some connections for you. So I hope that helps.
Perfect. And from what I hear from your answer, you know, again, it's all about connections and, you know, coming back to the university, and, you know, we're absolutely all about connecting Wildcats and trying to find, you know, those solutions from people working in the field. So another shameless plug for the Bear Down Network. And yes, tapping into your Wildcat connections, whether on campus or around the globe. Great. Well, I have a couple questions that were sent to me directly. So one was, Brian, maybe you could go back to when you were talking about resiliency and entrepreneurship, and maybe talk a little bit more about what you cover in your 101 course, and some of the topics around resiliency, especially for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, so when we talk about resiliency, I mean, there's obviously systemic resiliency, so ecosystem, like literally biological resilience, right? The climate and ways in which we approach it. There's organizational resiliency, so we do talk a bit about, do you have a diverse management team that is comprised of people with a broad range of skills? Because inevitably the challenges that an organization faces call on a lot of those different things simultaneously. Likewise, you don't want to have too many sort of single stars, where one person is the one person who knows everything about X. We used to joke about it as the hit by the bus person. You know, they get hit by the bus. Where are you? Does anyone know how to work the thing that they were the expert on? So organizational resiliency can also involve creating some degree of overlap, a primary and a secondary role for the most critical things that you need to do as a business. And then there's individual resilience, and that is largely what we focus on within the Venturing 101, because there what we're really trying to do is first of all, do some self-identification. What is your own sort of risk profile, your mindset as an entrepreneur, and then walking through the, you know, problem, solution, and market. If you fail at it, how do you respond? Does that crush you and you say, that's it, I'm never doing this again? If we can, we try to set people up to have, you know, to look at it as an experiment, a scientific experiment where you had a hypothesis, you ran your experiment, and you didn't get the outcome you were expecting, but what can you learn from running the experiment and be able to bring that back and iterate through another experiment? I hope that's kind of the nature of the question. I think to talk about resilience is probably its own 1 hour talk, because there's just so much around it that we can touch on.
Yeah, and from what it sounds like, even if we're not looking to enter any, startup or any entrepreneurial, endeavor, it sounds like those skills could be really applicable to any career or space that we find ourselves, going through that process of refining and never really giving up, but continuing to move forward.
Well, I mean, anybody that has worked for any length of time as an employee knows things don't always go the way we planned for them. And we can either choose to, curl up in a ball under our desk and hope that someone turns the lights off, or we can figure out, all right, that didn't go the way I thought. How do I sort of own that? And what can I do to make that better? Now, I will say, I think I get asked a lot of the time, what is the sign of a healthy innovation ecosystem? And I think the answer to that is one in which we embrace failure the same way we embrace success. Because it is hard to make a mistake, try something new, fail at it, and then be punished or treated as if, well, you should have got that right. Well, no, I mean, that's not really how life works. We thank goodness we didn't give up on walking when we were, little kids, or that we'd all be crawling. So I think the same thing has to apply here, in that we need to create a culture that embraces trying and failing and viewing that as a learning opportunity. So speaking of, I'm going to ask you all, any guesses on my background?
Ooh. It looks like some sort of map there.
Yeah, you're close.
Yeah, some X's, some check marks.
The one that goes down to my belly is also an X, just, for those playing at home. No, it's not art. The message is that there are no shortcuts. The shortcut is no shortcuts. The straight line, it represents the path that we need to take and the one that we follow. And all of the others looking for a shortcut end up taking you more time and taking you away from, the thing that you're trying to work on. And so it's back to that comment about, both the resilience, but also thinking through, accepting, making mistakes, failing at something. The fastest way to get this way to this, is a straight line. It's just run through the problem and don't try to work around what happens if I don't do this right. No, just do it and learn and go from there.
Yeah, I love that. And what a great lesson of, truly what our bear down spirit is, right? And it might not be glamorous or easy in the beginning, but it's the repetition and sticking with it, and that grittiness that can ultimately end in that success. Yeah,
Grit's a great word. Love that word.
Yes. We have one more question that came in here, and going back to some of our mentions about mentoring. It's specifically a mentor in, building a business. How do you find those mentors? How do you ask someone to be your mentor? What does that process look like? And maybe what resources we have available for that?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question. So I will throw out again free stuff. So if you are interested in looking for help, by all means, come to one of our Thursday coffees. We have folks roaming around who they love to work with small business owners and help them through that process. And in turn, most of the folks who come to the coffee are network builders. They're professionals in creating and curating a network. The second is find yourself someone that you have a great deal of trust and respect for, and begin there. More often than not, those kinds of people themselves have a very robust network behind them that they can start to make introductions. So if you spend a few minutes, spend 30 minutes, 45 minutes with that person that you trust a lot, and then get to, okay, here's my thing, here's what I'm looking for and what I just can't seem to find help on. And now you've engaged, you just doubled your search capacity, because now it's you and this person that you like and trust helping find that next step. And you just keep building it that way. It's if you watch a spider build a web, it doesn't just shoot the entire web out at once and call it a day. It has to work its way around in a pattern in circles. You need to be doing the same thing in creating that network of mentors for yourself, and then curate it. And by that, I mean both the people who are helpful to you and have your best interest in mind, cherish them, spend time with them, maintain that relationship. And then the people who don't return the calls, don't come back with help, don't, maybe they're trying to just sell you a service or whatever, cut them out. And really stick to the people that have your best interest in mind. Our mentors are actually ethically required to disclose any financial or other interests in any company that might compete with, relate to, in any way come close to it, because we just don't want people even entering into that kind of gray zone of who are you really answering for. So I hope that's helpful on the mentoring side.
Yeah, I think so. We need any follow-ups, go ahead, drop them in the chat. But Brian, this has just been fantastic. And I think what I really appreciate about some of these messages and the content that you shared is that it's not just for those who are business owners or looking to start a business or an idea. Like really, all of these are applicable to any career and any stage that we're in. So thank you for providing that content and making it so relevant to all of us.
I often talk about build your own personal board. You need to have not a board of directors, but a board of advisors, but for you. And that then shouldn't matter whether you're an employee, you're a small business owner, you're trying to build the next unicorn, you're trying to do the international nonprofit endeavor, whatever it may be. Make sure you have that personal board of advisors. That's really key.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and end the session today. I wanted to put some resources up on the screen. Again, you are welcome to visit our website. That's where we're going to have the recording of today's webinar. Join us at the Bear Down Network. And if you have any questions about the Alumni Career Lab or additional services and resources for alumni related to career professional development, there's my contact information, and we will be sure to share that later as we share the slides as well. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Brian, for all of the wonderful tips and resources. Have a great day, everyone. Bear down and go Cats.
Wow.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Lacey.
Hold on.